Welcome to the second installment of our State Enforcer You Need to Know series. I'm Diane Hazel. I'm a First Assistant Attorney General in the Colorado Attorney General's Office. And our distinguished guest today is Jonathan Mark, a Senior Assistant Attorney General in the Washington Attorney General's Office. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thanks very much, Diane. I'm really happy to be here.
We're glad to have you. So today, we're just going to ask some kind of informal questions to get to know you and your office better, as well as hear about some of the work that you are doing in Washington. So, kind of to start out, you're one of the go-to people in the Washington office for antitrust. And can you tell me more about your role there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm the division chief of the Antitrust Division. I joined the AG's office actually straight out of law school in 2006, and have been in the Antitrust Division since then, fighting the good fight. So that's really where I've made my home. So as the division chief, I manage all aspects of the division's work, including overseeing investigations and litigation, strategic decision making, managing the budget, and advising the Attorney General on competition and antitrust issues that that come up to the front office. And most importantly, I like to say I get to be a cheerleader for I think one of the best state antitrust shops in the country.
It sounds like you stay busy.
Well, yeah. It's definitely it has been such a great job and opportunity for what the 14 years that I've been there now. So yeah, as I said, I've really made a home there, and feel like it's really a great place to be, to make a difference and to do interesting work and to work with really fun people.
So my next question is really sort of a two-part question. And first, why did you decide to do antitrust? And second, what led you to go to the Washington Attorney General's office?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe I'll take the second question first. So when I was a college student, I had the opportunity to intern at the Massachusetts Attorney General's office. And I was in a division where I really got to see firsthand just how the work that state AGs do can really make a difference in people's daily lives. Really just, even if it was just helping someone over the phone who had a problem, I just really found that really meaningful. And I think that's really what sort of planted the seed for me to really want to do this work, and just to feel like I could really help and make a difference in people's daily lives. As far as what got me into antitrust, so I have an economics undergrad degree, and I guess it felt like sort of the perfect mesh between how to sort of practically apply that degree with being a lawyer. And I was sort of at the right place at the right time as well. And there happened to be an opening in the division when I was applying to the office, and I guess my boss saw the econ degree and thought, oh, okay, great, we'll bring him in. But that said, I always tell folks I certainly don't think an econ degree is required for this job by any means, but it definitely helped me sort of figure out how to speak the lingo. So yeah, that was really it.
I agree. I think having some sort of background in economics helps you at least appear like you know what's going on. And so when you can talk to your economic experts or others, you don't just look like a deer in headlights.
Yes, yeah.
So having been at the office for 14 years, what are some of the more well-known cases that you have worked on during your time there?
Well, I think probably the most varied and among the most challenging cases I worked on was our LCDs case, which was a parents patriae lawsuit against manufacturers of LCD panels. And it was just really fun because there were a lot of good sort of issues of first impression for us there. In terms of like we had a several issues that went up onto the Court of Appeals, anywhere from personal jurisdiction over these foreign companies to, whether a state parents action can be removed to federal court under the Class Action Fairness Act. And so there were just a lot of really good issues, that we dug into, litigated, and ultimately prevailed on. And we got ultimately, a $63 million recovery for consumers and for the state. So that was really a great case for me to really dig into. I think also our Franciscan litigation from several years ago, I think also sort of really gave us an opportunity to work on some cutting edge healthcare issues. And, importantly, I think was a good example of, how much our division has grown over the years and been able to take on or expand its enforcement footprint. And so, that's one of now many healthcare matters that, my division is looking at. I think that really, set the stage, I think, for, for a lot of these cases going forward. And one other thing I have to add too, one of my first merger cases that I worked on involved school bus pupil transportation. And I always tell folks that one of the best parts of this job is, learning inside and out of all sorts of random industries. And as a result of that, I know so much more about like school bus transportation than I ever thought I would. I feel like whenever I'm out driving, I'm like looking for school bus depots, and it's had like this lasting effect on me for whatever reason. That was kind of one of the fun kinds of cases that I always point to for, why antitrust can really be so interesting.
I agree. I think that is one of the great things about our jobs, is that we get to really immerse ourselves in these random industries and learn so much. And it's, what I tell, law students who are interviewing, that you have the chance to become an industry expert in some very random things.
Some industries you never knew existed.
Exactly.
Yes.
So one of the things that your office is also really well known for in the past couple of years are your no poach efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, and kind of, I know you had hundreds of consent orders, right?
Yes, assurances of discontinue, or AODs, yes, filed in Superior Court here. It was really, in many ways, it was just kind of a unicorn in terms of sort of discovering the problem. And by discovering the problem, I should say, our Solicitor General read a New York Times article, literally, describing this issue and, the effects that it's had on workers at many of these fast food chains. Brought it to the attention of the Attorney General, and next thing I know was on my desk, Jonathan, let's figure out what we can do. And again, that going back to what I said earlier about really trying to make a difference for folks, that that process, and by that process I mean somebody saw something that didn't sit right with them, and they wanted to do something about it. And it came to us, and we had the tools to do something about it. That I think is really just a good example of how state AGs, as sort of the front line for our consumers, can really make a meaningful impact. And so, when we started this investigation, I guess you could say we tried to go big or go home, and really our AG wanted to see this practice stopped industry wide. So as you mentioned, it did lead to many. I want to say we've filed over 200 AODs with franchisors, agreeing to stop this, to remove them from provisions for in their franchise agreements in Washington. It led to one lawsuit against the Jersey Mike's, the sandwich chain, where, there was a dispute over, was this per se or rule of reason. We survived a motion to dismiss, which preserved all of our claims. And so, we were tested on that in litigation and prevailed. So I think, that and just the sheer number of, franchisors who were getting rid of this provision, I think is really what, made this just such a great, unique case. And also sort of shows that, these provisions were sort of vestiges of a time that, doesn't really make much sense to include them anymore, right? So, we were really, we put a lot of resources into it. Again, our AG was extremely interested, and, I think, very, very happy to see that, we were successful in this efforts and learned a lot along the way as well about, labor and antitrust issues, and, sort of the importance of really paying attention to, to labor and competition issues, which are in the background a lot. And I think because of this, certainly in our shop, it is more of a forefront issue now, when we're taking a look at new matters.
I can imagine you all were very busy, which leads me to my next question. How many attorneys do you have in your office working on antitrust?
Yeah, so currently, including me, there are 10 attorneys that are doing antitrust full time. And when I compare that to when I joined the office in 2006, we were 4 attorneys, and at various times had gone down to maybe 3 as well. So that's definitely part of the expanded footprint that I've been really fortunate to be a part of over the years.
I think that makes you one of the larger state offices, I feel like.
Yeah, I think I did. I looked at this a little while ago. I think California still reigns supreme, just in terms of the sheer number of attorneys. But I think we are up there. We might be tied with like New York or something like that, I think. But yes, we're definitely up there. And we also recently added an in-house economist as well to our ranks, which is the first time we've had one, and that has been extremely helpful. It's not quite the armies of economists at the FTC or DOJ, but every little bit helps. So
That's great. Well, so switching gears a little bit to COVID, I'm curious how the pandemic has affected your office and the work that you all do.
hmm Well, I have to say, despite all the challenges that it has presented, moving offices entirely remote, the transition was surprisingly smooth. All things considered, the office had been, for a number of years leading up to COVID, had been sort of trying to expand, just work mobility, giving folks, everyone, access to like surfaces and laptops, and just trying to expand flexible work schedules. And so in some ways, that really prepared us, I think, for bringing it all remote. There definitely were, some issues. I think, there were a lot of folks in the office that had 3 monitors that suddenly had to go down to one small laptop screen, and so that presented some challenges, of course. But by and large, I was just extremely impressed with just the back end ability of the office to make that transition happen, and also folks' patience and just kind of rolling up their sleeves and trying to do the best they could with what we had. We have been able to subsequently supply more equipment for folks, including monitors, which I know has made a lot of folks really happy. But it's really, the effort was really impressive. And throughout the entire pandemic, there's still been a core group of essential personnel who are going into the office, our general services staff, IT staff, to just make sure like those absolute basic core functions still happen. And it's just really, I've been so impressed by how it all happened. And relatively, for me at least, it was relatively problem-free.
Our office kind of has similar experience, and our essential personnel who go in, I mean, we couldn't run our operations without them. So we're really grateful for the work they do to support us.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're actually running a little bit out of time, but I did want to allow time for one kind of fun question. And heads up, I did tell Jonathan I might ask this question because I was asked it during a group meeting recently, and it actually was pretty entertaining. But the question is, the zombie apocalypse is coming. Who are 3 people you want on your team?
This is actually a really tough question, but I gave it some thought, and I'm assuming it's okay to go with fictional characters as well, because that'll we can
Anyone?
have fun with that, right? Yeah. So my first, I want to have it'd probably be a very depressing time, so I think it would be important to have like a really good comedian, like a Jim Carrey or a Will Ferrell or something, someone like that, just to kind of lift spirits. Um, I'm a big fan of the Back to the Future movies, and I figured it would be really helpful to have like Doc with me, because maybe he could invent a time machine and go back in time, and we could stop the whole thing from happening in the first place. Um, and then this is kind of a 2-for-1, but that movie Under Siege with Steven Seagal, when they take over like a Navy character, like he's like a SEAL and like and a chef. So it's like, oh, okay. So I'd have somebody who could like protect me from the zombies, but also like maybe make a decent sandwich too for us to eat. So that's my dream team, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, your team sounds pretty good. I think that was better than most I heard. So
We've been watching a lot of movies lately with the kids at home, so I have a lot of these characters, especially Back to the Future, are very fresh in my mind.
that's great. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you, Jonathan, for your time today. This was great to get to know you and your office better. And yeah, we look forward to seeing what Washington does next.
Thanks very much for the invitation. Happy to do it. It was a lot of fun.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.